Your guest should expect a curated mix of things for sale. Hello, let's talk about craft mix. I'm trying to find a spot under this tree where I don't have to squint at you because it's a really shiny day. The mix of products sold within your park. Your guest should expect a curated mix of things for sale. And to do that, your marketplace manager needs to know everything that's being sold in your park so that they can know what new things should or should not be accepted. Sometimes that mix is changing because people are they're already in the show and they start adding things to their list, and that is a thing that the marketplace manager keeps an eye on. Did somebody sneak something in that wasn't on their contract? But I call it marketplace manager, and I've just come around to this because I've dealt with vendor coordinators for the last 20 years at my major show. And I'm a food vendor, so that feels appropriate. But I know, because I have a lot of friends that are artists, that the term vendor coordinator offends some artists. They've worked at shows where they had a crafter liaison, or they had an artisan marketplace manager, or they had a crafts coordinator, and they feel better with that title. But there's a lot more in that marketplace than arts and crafts. You have games, you have rides, you have service providers, you have food vendors, you have beverage, you have souvenirs. Even if part of their contract was negotiated with somebody else in management, what they're selling is still part of the mix that has to be considered in the curation of what the product mix is in the park. Also, if there is a stage show that has been given permission to sell their merch as part of their contract, then that merch falls under the purview of the marketplace manager, because it has to be considered when we're thinking about an oversaturation of any one type of product. So that comes to being able to categorize the different elements that are for sale and track who's selling them to know if you're too heavily weighted in any one category or if you're missing a category altogether. And every year applications are going to come in, and you can cut down on your work pretty effectively if you already know which categories are oversaturated. You're not even going to look at those applications. And maybe you have a ghost file that you keep those in and you dig through when you find you have a gap, or you remember that somebody applied and suddenly one of your vendors has retired and you don't have enough potters, something like that. But the marketplace manager already has a ton of work to do. This is not a job that can be fobbed off as a secondary job that the secretary is helping cover, or that the GM does in their spare time, because GMs don't actually have spare time. The marketplace manager manages the relationships with this constituency of humans that have built your park. So let's say that this field over here that just got cut for hay yesterday is your parking lot. In order for people right here to feel like they're in a different world, there's got to be something blocking people's view of their own cars. And so in the traditional permanent park model in the US, vendors build their buildings and maintain them to the parameters that the festival gives them. The festival may have, depending on terrain, height, elevation change, you may have rules for, okay, anyone building on this section of the show has to build at least 30 feet tall because you need them to hide something. Over here, the buildings don't have to be as tall because the terrain is shaped different, or I don't have a entertainment building behind that booth line to hide. So these folks are paying to build, or they buy one in an existing park. They maintain it. They keep the paint fresh. They keep the roof fresh. And they are kind of at all times either about to spend some money maintaining their shop or thinking about what their next expenditure is going to be. So besides the marketplace manager maintaining those relationships, you also have to make sure that there's people in other departments are not undermining that relationship. So these folks have made investments that might be some of the largest investments they've made. And so we talk to them as though we acknowledge that, and we're being helpful when they want to spend some money on our site, helping our site stay fresh. So don't make the marketplace manager's job harder than it is already. Marketplace manager is looking at this mix of products, figuring out where the gaps are, and possibly even putting out a call for those types of applications. Like, you don't have to put I'm just realizing how windy it is out here. You don't have to say just taking vendor applications on your website. You can say taking food vendor applications. You can say now accepting applications for potters, now accepting applications for two-dimensional wall art. Like, whatever is missing at your show, that's the thing to say that you're taking applications for, and just cut down some of your sorting work, some of the stuff that your jury has to sort through. But that's kind of what I wanted to say about Craft Mix. I'm going to make another video that talks to artisans about the questions to ask about Craft Mix when you're applying to a show, but that is not this video. Bye-bye, my darlings. I hope you have a lovely day.